Greetings, Christian Life Church and members of the Chambersburg community. I am excited to be able to share this presentation with you on tips for helping your children with virtual school. So we at home are finding that parents are experiencing a lot of challenges at home with this virtual school platform. And the first question that would be helpful to address is, why is school from home so challenging? And there's some tips or things that we need to keep in mind about this. Home is your child's safe place. In the past, it's where they've always had the opportunity to wind down from school. They haven't had school demands at home before, other than maybe some homework. You as the parent are your child's safe haven, so they know that you love them unconditionally regardless of their behavior. And for these reasons, your child is likely to act what really feels like 1,000 times worse for you than they would ever dare to act for their teacher or in public. Some other reasons school from home can be very challenging. When you think of your younger children, in the early primary grades especially, it's really difficult to understand why some days we have to do this school at home and other days we don't. We have weekends, we have holidays, some days we wake up and we have school, and some days we don't. Also, there are at-home expectations that do not apply to virtual learning days. So typically, if your child was staying home for the day, they may have the option of staying in their pajamas if you weren't going anywhere. Or they'd have the option of walking away from a computer screen and going to play with their toys. So really, we're living in an unprecedented time. There's many new stresses. In many ways, virtual schooling may actually be more stressful for parents than it is for your child. So I would encourage you that when you really find yourself like dwelling on those stresses and just having a really hard day, especially with this virtual schooling, try to find a positive focus. What if instead of focusing on the stresses, we could take a moment and focus on how this situation is allowing us to connect with our children in new ways and better ways that we never would have had the opportunity in the past. So reset and regroup. We do have a change coming up on October 19th. Some of our, or most of our elementary students will be beginning to come to school on what's called an AABB schedule. What that means is they're coming part of the week and they're learning virtually the other part of the week. On October 26th, this same schedule begins for our secondary students. So since there is a change, this may be the perfect time to reset and regroup. And what I mean by that is taking a look at what's happened so far and what do we need to do to improve it. Really, the first step in that could really just be have a meaningful, uninterrupted conversation with your child. Discuss with them what has and has not been working during this time. If you haven't done so already, decide on and discuss expectations for virtual school days. What you expect your child to do, what your child should expect from themselves during this time, and encourage your child to ask questions. Have them be part of that conversation. It's really important to use a positive, even excited voice tone when talking about school from home. And the reason for this is children really pay attention to that. And if you're excited, your child is more likely to be excited or have a positive outlook on having the school from home experience. And if you haven't already done so, choose a specific area in your home for your child to participate in virtual school. You can organize this area with your child, allow them to add their own personal touches to it to make it their own space. So visual supports can really be helpful for all children in a variety of situations, but looking at the virtual school situation specifically, I just wanted to provide some ideas of how this may be helpful. So we mentioned before that there could be some confusion on if when you wake up in the morning, is it a school day? Is it a home day? What should I expect today? So one option is to try making a calendar together. And when you do this, you can color code school days that take place at school versus virtual school days that will take place at home, and even non-school days. Maybe we call those just home days. This is just a quick example. Looking at the month of October, For, say, an elementary student, we have the home days in purple, the virtual learning days in blue or turquoise, and the school days where your child would actually go to school in blue. So at a quick glance, you could find the day and easily say, okay, this is what is happening today, or even the night before, so that your child knows what to expect when they wake up the next morning. The majority, if not all, classrooms do already have a visual schedule for the day clearly posted. So your child's used to having that guide to help them understand what's happening during the day. So to be consistent, having a visual daily schedule for home may also help your child to understand the flow of the day, helps them to know what's coming next and how long they have before, say, a break comes up or lunch, or even how much time is left before the end of the school day. And then a clothespin or a paper clip, thinking about items that can easily be found within your home, could be used to move down the schedule during the day. So here is an example, and this is very hypothetical. Say in order to be ready for the first live lesson at 9 a.m., your child would need to wake up at 7:30. So you really want to be consistent every day about wake up time, whether it's a school day at school or a virtual learning day. And after you wake up, there's going to be a few expectations to get ready for the day, whether, again, you're going to school or you're learning from home that day. So again, this is a hypothetical schedule, but ideally what could happen is throughout the day, as you move from activity to activity, you would move that clothespin or that paper clip down so your child could see exactly what's happening now, how much time is remaining until the next activity, and how much is left of the day. So establishing that school routine, really working backwards, helps you to figure out not only what time we need to wake up in the morning, but even what time we need to go to bed the night before. So again, what needs to be completed before school begins? How long does that take your child to complete? And that will determine what time you need to be up. And then determining that wake up time will help you to consider, what time does bedtime need to be? And how many hours does your child need to wake up refreshed in the morning? I think when we have normal school weeks where our children go to school every day, this is a little easier. When we've been home for so long, that bedtime tends to get later and later. So we're finding students are tired for virtual school and not able to participate or engage, pay attention as well. A tip for bedtime: removing all electronics from your child's bedroom when lights are out. Especially our secondary students, they may be sneaking some of that and staying up later than you think. So if you can have a plan to just remove all those electronics so your child can get a good night's sleep and maybe store them in your own bedroom, that's a tip that I think could really benefit them. So I'd already mentioned trying to keep that wake up time consistent is very helpful for your child. These routines not only make your child's life easier, they really make your life easier. Children thrive on routines as well as consistency. And once they get into that groove, it makes your ability to get them ready and yourself ready for the day much easier. Timers can also be your best friend. So for example, you can set a timer for a part of a routine that you need your child to do A, B, and C. So thinking about getting dressed and brushing your teeth. You have 10 minutes to do those things. You set the timer. A timer can also be helpful for other parts of the day. So for example, a break time where your child has a little downtime between activities to do something they would like, set that timer. 15 minutes you have to do this before we have to be ready to learn again. Or they could be used to communicate how much time is remaining for independent work time before your child receives a break. Tell your child, all right, I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And when the timer goes off, it is time to go take a break. Maybe you're going to go play outside or do something, hopefully that involves movement, because we are sitting at the computers a lot. Transition warnings with a timer are also very important to allow your child to know a change is coming. So for example, if you just set a timer and it goes off, your child, when you're engaged in activities, may be right in the middle of something and it's really hard to make that quick change to another activity. So if you give those transition warnings, such as like 10 minutes left 5 minutes left and 1 minute left, it helps your child mentally prepare that they need to finish what they're doing because we're moving on to something else. Managing frustrations, and this really applies to both your child's frustrations and yours. Can't emphasize this enough. There may be times when you really just need to take a break away from the situation, and that is okay. You know, you're teaching your child an appropriate way to do this by modeling, even when you yourself say, you know, I need a 5 minute break away. Because then they're learning rather than throwing a tantrum, throwing a fit when they're frustrated, that they can request a break using their words. It really is natural as a parent to begin to raise your voice when you become upset or when your child starts to become upset or starts to act out. So here are a few tips on trying to maintain a calm atmosphere. When you are able to keep your voice calm, this will help you from further escalating your child. Being aware of your breathing and actually slowing down your words is also very helpful. So concentrating on that breathing in and out and speaking at a slower rate can really help you keep your own voice calm. When your child is upset and breathing really hard, modeling for them, breathing in, like pretending your stomach is filling with air like a balloon, and then blowing out, pretending you're blowing out a candle, for example. Doing that a few times with your child can help both of you to calm down. And then providing some choices. So if you have an assignment, maybe giving your child a choice, all right, which problem would you like to try first? Giving them just that little bit of control over the situation to help them work through those frustrations. It's really important to empathize, but keep the expectation. So you do want to empathize and provide that support and encouragement. When your child's at school, when they are struggling with an assignment or understanding something, their teacher is there providing support and encouragement. So letting your child know, I understand this is hard and let's work through it together is very appropriate. But if you change the expectation and decide they don't have to try or complete something because they're frustrated or maybe acting out, that's teaching them that if they continue to do that, they're not going to have to do their work. And we don't want to give them that message either. As far as keeping the expectations, that's not to say there may not be some modifications that are appropriate, but you really want to discuss that with your child's teacher if that is something that needs to be addressed. Behavior frustrations. Acknowledge when you and your child are having a difficult day. You know, we're having a really hard day today. Let's talk about it. How can we make this better? You always want to clearly communicate what the problem is. So maybe a specific behavior your child is engaging in, and really trying to problem solve what's causing it. Where is the frustration coming from? Ask your child how you can work together to fix it. Including them in that discussion can make the outcome so much more positive. Now, I do want to emphasize this is not something to attempt when your child is fully engaged in a behavior outburst, because in order for this to be effective, both you and your child need to be calm. How you approach this will largely influence the solution and how positive that solution is. So we've talked a little bit about managing frustrations, but also how do we reinforce positive behavior? So at school, again, we talked about how there's visual schedules posted for children to understand their day. There also are typically reinforcement, positive reinforcement programs or just strategies present in our schools and in our classrooms. So I want to begin with not only at school, but in general, all children, and really this includes adults as well, need to hear 5 positive comments for every negative comment, behavior correction. We often refer to this as the 5-to-1 ratio to really nurture that social emotional development. So reinforcing positive behavior can be as simple as giving your child verbal praise. It does not have to be anything more than that. And when you are praising your child for something they did well or a positive behavior choice they made, it's really important to be very specific about exactly what it is they did to make you proud. Because as you're praising them, you're teaching them the connection between what they did, that positive choice they made, and receiving praise or a positive reaction that they would want to receive again in the future. So, thinking about us as adults, we receive reinforcement for going to work. Our paycheck is that positive reinforcement. Without it, the likelihood of continuing to go to work would be significantly less. I think we can all agree on that. We also learn very quickly that if we do not satisfactorily perform our job responsibilities, then we're at risk of losing that job. And that's, ultimately lessons that our children will need to learn. So that is why teaching positive reinforcement so early is really important, or at least it's one of the reasons why. It teaches our children to connect positive choices to a desired response, whether that praise be or whether that praise be verbal from a trusted adult or something tangible like a reward. And I mentioned previously, the majority of our classrooms do already have some kind of positive reinforcement system. It makes sense to have something similar at home if we're also doing our school at home. Again, for consistency. Children thrive on routines. They thrive on consistency, especially between home and school settings. So this is an example of a marble jar. It could be used to visually reinforce positive choices that your child makes. So they do something well, they earn a marble. And then when the marble jar is full, there's something that they could be working towards. Again, it does not have to involve money. It does not have to involve something tangible. It could be a special activity that they're going to be able to do with you, some of that one-on-one time with their mom. This is another visual, very simple behavior type of chart where probably for a younger child, they would need to accomplish 3 tasks before they would receive some kind of a break. And you can use stickers, or like in this example, you can simply draw stars. You can draw smiley faces. It lets your child know how much is left before a break. So, we filled in 1 square. How many more are there? Count together. And this is yet another example. We always want to reinforce with words what we want our child to do rather than what we want them to stop doing. So these 2 goals this child has: I can do my work. I can use kind words. So maybe those are 2 areas that your child's been struggling with at home, not completing assignments and not using those kind words to household. So if you think about your schedule, if you have one of those daily schedules for every block of the day that they're able to do that, they could earn a smiley face on a square on the chart. And then again, when it's filled, you would have already talked to your child about what will happen, what positive reinforcement will be available to them. Frequently review expectations. You cannot do this too much. Daily at minimum, or even several times per day, depending on the age and developmental level of your child. We've talked a lot now about reinforcing positive behavior. That is not to say that we shouldn't have consequences for not following expectations. And those also need to be determined ahead of time. Thinking back to that conversation, we're resetting, we're regrouping. What are our expectations for virtual school? Talking about how positive choices will be reinforced, and also talking about what are the consequences if the expectations are not followed. Be consistent. Once you set these expectations, that is so important. Children will learn very quickly if you say there will be a consequence and then you don't follow through with it. It's also important to expect there may be some behavior peaks occurring first, meaning the behavior might actually get a little worse before it gets better, and that is completely normal. You are setting expectations, and your child is likely to test them to see if that's really what's going to happen. But then if you are consistent, your child will learn that you mean business and that they probably prefer to receive positive reinforcement from you than consequences. So again, it is okay to provide reminders. Please do. Say to your child, remember, to earn blank, you need to follow the expectation and specifically state what that expectation is. It really should align with your household rules. So if you already have some rules in your house, that's a great starting point. I had mentioned you can then award that star, that smiley face, sticker, whatever you're using on the behavior chart, or placing a marble pom-pom in a jar. It really becomes simple. You just align each activity of the day with, okay, did you follow those expectations? And if you did, great. Discuss that with your child and say, you did a great job doing A and B. You earned this. If no, it's still important to discuss this with your child and why they didn't earn whatever it was, the sticker or the star. And then that may in and of itself be the consequence, or there may be a consequence such as they don't have a specific privilege later in the day, or maybe you didn't remove the privilege completely, but you're taking minutes away from the time they would normally have for that privilege. So really, this kind of discussion provides that in-the-moment teaching for not only the desired behavior you want, but strategies for what to do when faced with similar situations. So if your child did not follow the expectation, talk about what they can do next time so that they do follow the expectation. Some ideas for setting expectations specific to the school part could be completing your work, staying in assigned school area, so wherever that is in your house. Not necessarily meaning you always have to sit in the chair. Some children may really do better being able to stand, at least at times, using kind words, following directions. Those are all some generic examples of what those expectations may be for school. Removing other screen time. So breaks, your child will have some breaks between activities. Then there's time after school. Encourage activities that provide movement. We are sitting at a computer, or I should say your children are sitting at a computer for so much longer than they ever would be if they were in school. And they need that movement. Recess is something that all children need. And honestly, now it's needed more possibly now than even it used to be. So I would really encourage you to try to avoid any screen time as break activities. This would include playing on a phone, playing on an iPad, watching television. You really want to get those bodies up and moving. The weather's still nice. If you can get them outside to run around, ride bikes, play kickball, run around the house and time them and make it a competition. Just something that is active and get some fresh air into them. It'll make them feel better, honestly, so they don't become lethargic. They need that. And try to reduce your own screen time too. Again, children, you're modeling for your children. Find times outside of school where you can just focus on enjoying being with your children and your family free from screens. And that's not just for this virtual school setting, but just in general. Eat meals together, laugh together, give your child your undivided attention when you are either talking with them or playing with them, because they recognize when you're only partially paying attention to them. And it makes them feel so much more important if you're giving them your undivided attention. And then, getting your own body up and moving as well is just as healthy and good for you as it is for your children. So this actually concludes this presentation. I really thank you for tuning in today, and God bless.